Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Joseph, and today we are back here with another live. As usual, at the beginning of the live, we just need to make sure that everything is sounding good from the audio perspective, and you're gonna jump straight into this. Okay, perfect. Everything's perfect on that end, guys. It is the fall. And it seems like for some reason, whenever the fall comes, I really get bad allergies. So please excuse me if I like possibly sneeze or something. But anyways, why do you want to know how to read people? I think that's the foundational principle. What are you going to get out of listening to me talk for 20, 30 minutes? I'm going to want you guys to listen to me. At least I can do is tell you up front why you should listen. So the reason why it matters, um the reason why it matters if you can read people or not is because the people who are closest to you, the people that are in your life, have a very significant influence on your knife, on your life, not your knife. Some of you guys might have a knife, but your life, you know, these people that you interact with constantly, you might not realize it. For some people that might be a shocker, but they influence you. If you think about it, for the people who had their parents in their life, you might come to the realization now as an adult that you are very similar to whichever parent you spent the most time with. I get told all of the time that I act just like my dad. But that would make sense because I have been around my dad. I was mostly around my dad growing up. So my dad had a great influence on my life. I come from a split household. My parents were divorced. They both raised me, but I leaned more towards spending time with my dad, and therefore I gathered a lot of his traits. Now, in some respects, I am like my mother. I do have some of her ways, but overarching, I exemplify the behavior, the characteristics, the traits that came from my dad. And a lot of that just has to do with me being around him a lot growing up. So it's the same thing in your life. The people who you're around, friends, family, they're going to have a great influence on how you think, what you do, what you say, and what you value. And so it's very important to surround yourself with people that are going to allow you to exceed in life and not be around people who are going to keep you stagnant or bring you down. So that's the real big reason why you have to be able to know how to read people. You have to be able to understand when you meet a person, when you meet, if you're a guy, you meet a woman, it is, I mean, this even applies in dating. If you're a guy, you meet a woman. If you're a woman and you meet a man, you got to understand within the first interaction, or I can do it in the first interaction, but within two or three interactions with this person, you have to understand what you're dealing with, because more times than not, what you see is what you get. Um, and I know some people might say, well, you can't judge a book by the cover, but think about it. If you go out and buy a book, and let's just say you look at the cover, if the cover isn't enticing you enough to open the pages, you're more likely not even going to read the book. But what if that cover does entice you? You're going to be like, okay, well, let me skim through the first chapter, read a couple of pages, and see if this is something that I'm willing to invest my time into. So it's the same thing with people. People have covers, so to speak, and they're presenting you that cover as soon as you meet them. So the important thing is to be able to disseminate and reason and understand what you're dealing with. And so today in this live, I have three really great practical principles that is going to assist you in dealing with people and assessing people and ultimately reading people like a book. So here we have, I have my notes here, guys. So there's a couple of antecedents that we need to set forward first. An antecedent, for people that might not know, is just like a principle, you know. And so the first principle that we're going to establish is that you cannot thrive around bad people. Let me say that again because I really want to nail home this point. You cannot thrive around bad people. Cannot happen. It's no different how I've talked about on this channel before. You cannot get a good outcome from something that began bad. If it started off bad, it's most likely going to be bad and it's going to end bad. So the foundation is very important in everything that you do in life. So let me say it again. This is very important. You cannot thrive around bad people. The second principle, the second antecedent, you cannot grow around bad people. You cannot grow around bad people. Life is a infinite process of growing. And once you cease to grow, you die. So let me clarify what I'm saying for people that might not understand where I'm going with this. So when you're an adolescent, you're going through the progressions as a child, and you're going from child to adolescent to teenager and so forth. Your body is going through a tremendous physical change. Your body is growing physically. You're growing in mass. You are growing inside. For most of us in the population, you most likely not are not as tall you're most likely taller or bigger now than you were when you were 10 years old. Why is that? Because during the formative years, the adolescent years, the body is in a state of physical growth. Now, here's the thing. Some people, for the most part, about 18, your height, however tall you are, that's basically what it's going to be. Some people peak before that. Some people peak at 16, 17. Some people are late boomers. They might be 5'5", and then they have a huge growth spurt in college and they're like 6'4". Some people do that. But the point is, for most people, it's a very slim population, small percentage of population that's growing at that kind of rate after high school, after 18. For most people, the height that you are at 18 is the height that you're going to be likely for the rest of your life. I know for me, I had my biggest growth spurt in middle school. My biggest growth spurt was in middle school. So I sprouted up at one point, I was like 5'2". I sprouted up from middle school to ninth grade. By the end of ninth grade, I was about 5'7". Today at 22, I stand at about 5'9". So if you're thinking about it, from ninth grade to now to 22, I've only gotten 2 inches. My biggest spurt, like I said, was in middle school. I didn't really grow at a rapid pace physically after middle school. I obviously put on about 2 inches since middle school, but that was it. My body, I understand. And it sucks because, I wanted to be 6 feet tall. Everybody wanted to be tall. I wanted to be 6 feet. That was my dream. It killed my NBA ambitions when I found out that I was only going to be about 5'9". But the point that I'm making here is that everybody's body is going to grow physically at a different pace, at a different rate. And so what the deal is that as you cease to grow physically, you're also you are always growing mentally, spiritually, indefinitely until death. If you take yourself when you were 10 years old, there are things that you know now, and you just look back and you can't believe. I know that we all have this moment where we're just like, I can't believe I used to be doing that stupid stuff. What the heck was I thinking? You know? And I had some of those reflections even I look back a year ago, 2 years ago, and I'd be like, what the heck were you thinking, Joseph? What? I mean, why did you do that? But if I go back even further, I go back to like high school and I go back to like middle school, I can be like, man, the kind of stuff that I used to do, man, wow, it's amazing. So, and I look back and I was like, man, that stuff was wrong. It was messed up. It was stupid. So you're always growing spiritually and mentally indefinitely. So the point that I'm making with this, as it pertains to reading people, is that people in your life can either facilitate your growth or they can stunt your growth or they can decline, they can regress you, if you would. So people are going to be in one of these three categories. They are either going to assist you in growing as a person, they're either going to stunt your growth, and they're either going to regress you. They're going to bring you down. So the reason why this is very important as it pertains to people is because you have to be very conscientious of who you allow in your life, because that's a significant influence. That's a significant influence. The difference between you achieving your dreams in life or not achieving your dreams can sometimes be the 3 or 4 people that's in your closest circle. That's the reality. Sometimes the difference between you achieving what it is that you want to achieve can be determined by the 3 or 4 people that you hang out with the most. So I love using this example because I like to garden. I have a garden out there on my balcony, a bunch of plants and stuff. I'm growing I have a lemon tree out there, so I'm growing lemons, and I also have an avocado tree out there too. So I'm growing avocados. I have two plants. I have two fruits that I'm growing. I don't really like avocados, but I like the way the tree looked. So I said, okay, well, I'll get the tree, and the avocados that the fruit bears, I mean, that the tree bears, I'll just give them away to somebody. Now, the lemons, I like lemon. I'll see what I can do with those. I'll keep the lemons. So, and I also have other plants out there that just kind of, make a nice serene vibe whenever I go out on my balcony. So I believe that life can be likened to a garden. For those of you who have gardened, you gonna understand where I'm going. For those of you who have not gardened, bear with me. So when you garden, you have to have soil that you're digging into. Either you have soil either you have soil that you're digging into, or you have dirt that you have in a pot. Dirt, soil, the same thing. So when you're planting something in a pot, you have to first put the plant in there, and then you fill around it with dirt. Now, when you're out in a garden, like an actual garden that's actually in the ground, the same thing, you dig up the ground, you make a little hole in the ground, and you plant whatever it is that you want to plant. You water it, you tend to it. But the most important part in assisting your plant in growing is keeping the weeds away from the plant. See, what weeds do to a plant is it chokes off the oxygen. The roots, when a plant gets weeds inside of it, what is happening, what we can't see, you can't see it, because you can't see the actual roots. But what's happening in that soil is the weed is choking the roots, so the roots cannot breathe. So they're choking the oxygen off from the roots. And so if the plant cannot breathe, if the roots cannot breathe, well, you can only imagine what will happen. What would happen if somebody choked you? What would happen if somebody stops you from breathing? If it goes on long enough, you will die. And so it's the same thing with people. Your life is a garden. You are the plant. You are the tree. And your job is to tend to your garden and keep the weeds away from your garden. So what are the weeds in a real life sense? So we talked about what weeds are and what weeds can do from a gardening sense, but weeds in life are people, specifically bad people. Bad people are the weeds of life. They will choke off your growth. And if they choke off your growth long enough, you will die. Now, am I saying that you're going to die physically? No. But, and I mean, it's possible depending on, the circumstances and whatnot, but you will die spiritually. Your dreams will die. Whatever it is that you wanted to achieve will die because that weed is choking you. So what that weed do? Oh, you ain't gonna never be able to do that. Oh, you can't do that. What makes you think you're just a farm boy? You're just an old country boy. You'll never be able to do what it is that you're saying. That's that weed choking you off. That's that weed trying to choke that plant off. You didn't plant something in the ground that I want to do this, and that weed coming in. You just an old country boy. You ain't gonna never be able to do that. You're not smart enough to go to college. You didn't do well in high school. You'll never be anything. That's that weed trying to choke you off. That's what's going on. So you got to make sure that you keep bad people out of your life. So we finally are getting to the 3 principles. I had to lay that foundation. It's very important because you're not going to understand what I'm about to say now. These 3 principles um, on assessing people if I didn't lay the foundation. So hopefully you guys are still here with me. So the first thing, most important thing, and I have these in order. You have to do these in order, okay? It's very important that you follow the order. So if you're taking notes, follow this order. Do not try to do these out of order. There's an order of things. You have to do it this way. You really want to understand a person. So the first thing that you look at with a person that you're meeting, you don't know this person from Adam and Eve. You just met them. The first thing that you have to figure out is who is this person and what do they value? What do they care about? And so how do you do that? Well, the first principle is past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior. Human beings are creatures of habit. So once you do a behavior so long, it almost becomes second nature. Think about anything that you do in your life. When you first probably did it, it was hard to do, but the more you do it, the better you get, the more solidified you get in that particular endeavor. So past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior. So I'm gonna give you guys an example of how you can practically apply this. So you're talking to this person and they're telling you, oh, well, I used to do this. Yeah, I was a liar, I was a cheater, so forth. But now I'm different. Now, if you using my formula, your antenna should go up because you're trying to convince me of something that you are not no longer. But and then sometimes, you really gotta use wisdom and discernment because sometimes a person can change from their past behavior and become better. But if somebody's trying to convince you that they're not what they used to be, 9 times out of 10, they probably still are that. And they're trying to lead you astray. So if I used to lie and I'm trying to convince somebody now that I'm not a liar, the foundation has been laid. My reputation has been solidified. I lie. So now all of a sudden I'm just going to stop lying. That's not how typical human behavior works. So you have to look at what a person has done in the past to understand what they value today. So let me give you guys another example. If a person, for example, you find out you meet somebody and you find out that they have a college education in, let's say, history. I'm talking about me, right? What you can deduce from that, you can deduce a couple of things. Because to complete college, you had to first have a thought. That person had to first have a thought that they wanted to go to college. Then, not only that, that thought was a continuous thought because they didn't start college and quit. They started college and finished. So what does that tell you? They value that person. What you can deduce from that is that this person is able to see something through. If at nothing else, they can start something and see something through. Not only that, what you can also deduce is that this person values education. Somebody that doesn't value education isn't going to sit in a university for 4 years. They're not going to waste your time. If you don't like school or you think school is useless, you're not going to go to school and pay a couple tens of thousands of dollars for education for something that you don't believe is intrinsically worth anything. It's just not going to happen. So you know a person by what they've done in the past and where they are at today. So, for example, I give you guys a wonderful example. If I meet a gentleman or I meet a woman that's 30 years old and they still don't know what it is that they want to do with their life, what that tells me is that you went your whole 20s not knowing what you wanted to do with your life. And that was okay for you. So how can I deal with you if I'm looking at you as a potential partner? You ain't even figured out something that the most basic aspect of your identity is who you are and what you want to do with your life and what causes you seriously support and what endeavor you want to commit your life to, but you want to sit over here and tell me you want a relationship. You know how to navigate. It gives you a good understanding of how to navigate. Okay. So you always want to look at the results. Basically, this is what I'm saying. Where a person is at when you meet them is a direct result of how they think about life. That's just what it is. It's just what it is. So if you meet somebody that's 30 or 40 and they're not really doing a whole lot with their life, that lets you know how they think about their life. They don't value certain things. So the results are never going to lie. See, people, when you meet them, everybody's trying to put on their best impression. Oh yeah, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. But then the results don't lie. Okay, well, if you're doing this, let me see the results. I need to see the results because if you really wealthy, I'm gonna see the results on paper. I'm gonna see that money in the bank. I'm gonna see them assets. You know a person. If at 35 you meet somebody, you meet a gentleman or a woman, and they're a millionaire, the results are in the pudding. The results are there. This person has been working their butt off for the last at least 10 years of their life to get to where they at today. You don't become a millionaire by accident. It doesn't just osmosis happen unless you win the lottery or something. But for most people, they're self-made. And it don't just happen accidentally. You don't just wake up and you're a millionaire. So past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior. If you meet somebody and they're out of work or they're not working and they tell you, oh, well, it's just because I'm in a transition between things. Okay, and then you let's just say you believe what they're saying. You meet them, you still talking to them a month later. Oh, well, the job market's just kind of tough. So this person didn't have a job when you met them. Month later, still ain't got a job. let's just say you being real stupid, 3 months later, still ain't got a job. You should be able to understand, which you should have understood at first, but you should be able to understand at month 3, this person doesn't value work. Because there's work to be done. Most certainly, you can find some work if you really want to work. So always try to understand what a person has done so you can better understand what they gonna do. And that's the first principle. So the second principle is you have to be able to assess, and this comes from being a good listener. You must be able to assess a person's conversation. What do they talk about the most? Just listen to them. If you listen to people, they'll tell you their whole life if you just listen. But the problem is for most of us is we want to dominate the conversation. We want to leave our impression on that person. No, you need to understand if this person is worth your time to deal with. So you need to listen to them. You go talk to them later, because if they worth dealing with, you're gonna keep dealing with them. So you talk to them later. But when you first meet them, you need to be listening a lot more than you speak. Because when you're speaking, you're gonna be distracted. You're going to not fully grasp what it is that you're dealing with. So you have to listen to a person's conversation. What do they talk about? Are they a gossip? Do all they do is just talk about other people? They don't have nothing positive to say about anybody. Always something negative. Well, then you know what that person values. If a person all they do is talk about negative stuff, you know that they're a negative person. Because positive people ain't gonna talk about negative stuff. It's just not gonna work like that. So you assess the conversation. You assess what they talk about. Okay, you meet somebody, all they talk about is, oh yeah, I play video games all day. Well, you know what that person values. You're not gonna sit in front of a TV screen all day with a controller in your hand if you didn't value that. You see what I'm saying? So you assess their conversation. What do they care about the most? What causes mean the most to them? And when you assess a person's conversation, for me personally, when I meet a person, doesn't matter if this is in business, this doesn't matter if it's just my personal life. When I meet a person, I'm assessing their conversation to see if they are intellectually engaged. I am assessing a person's conversation to see if they are intellectually engaged. So I know some of you guys, if you're listening afterwards, you might be saying to yourself, well, Joseph, what do you mean if they're intellectually engaged? What are you saying? Here's what I'm saying. I'm a person, I can't sit around and talk about stupid stuff all day. I just can't do it. Some people can do it. I just can't do it. I can't sit around and talk about what the Kardashians are doing or what Kanye doing. I don't care. I don't. All of that stuff is foolishness. It's stupid. I want to see if the person is intellectually engaged. What's your view? What's your perspective on this? What's your perspective on that? How do you view this? How do you view that? I want to see how they see the world. I want to understand their worldview, their lens. And then not only that, not only do I want to understand that, I want to understand how you were shaped into believing whatever it is that you believe. How are you shaped into seeing whatever it is that you're seeing? Because at the end of the day, if you're going to allow a person into your life, they have to be able to meet you on an intellectual level. They have to be able to challenge you intellectually if you want to grow. If I meet somebody and I share an opinion with them and then, they just, oh yeah, man, that makes sense. Then I say something else. Oh yeah, that makes sense. So you're just gonna agree with everything that I say. You can't intellectually engage with me. You can't intellectually stimulate with me. So the interaction is gonna always be basically pointless. You're not bringing any value to this conversation by agreeing with everything I say. So you assess what a person talks about. What do they care about? What is their highest values? And this is another way that you find out what a person's gonna do. So if you can assess a person's value, like for example, if you find out, like you meet a person, all they do is talk about their car. That's all they talk about. Oh yeah, I just got a brand new Jeep, and I put big lift on it. I got the big tires, and I'm about to put some sidebars on it. If that's what dominates their conversation, then you most likely can deduce that person's one of their highest values is their vehicle. So then you take a step back and you assess their values up against what is just and what is right and what makes sense. So if I meet somebody and they value a car, they're one of their highest values is their vehicle. I already know this person most likely isn't the most intellectually engaging. They're not probably. Basically, I'm trying to be politically correct and say this person probably stupid. Unless you are on a level to me where like you making $1 million, $2 million. Y'all know how I feel about cars. Unless you're on a level where you can buy like 3-4 of the cars that you just bought or that you have or that you want, you shouldn't be buying a car. If you still stay at your granny house and you got a brand new Jeep, you stupid. So I already know if I meet you and you telling me you got a brand new Jeep and you staying at your granny house, then let me know you stupid. You stupid because your highest value is a vehicle and you don't even have your own place of residence. Can I get an amen right now? I'm preaching right now. Your highest value is a vehicle and you don't even have your own roof over your head. This is how you learn how people are. This is how you understand people on a deeper level. And so with a person like this, hey, for me, excuse me, y'all. For me, taking this example, I know that this person cannot be in my closest circle. Now, is that to say that this person is a bad person just intrinsically? That, like I said, that's up to discernment on the person. Because you could be a good person but lack wisdom. Because evidently, to have a brand new Jeep but you stay at your granny house, you lack wisdom. So I know for a fact right then and there, you cannot be in my inner circle because you gonna do stupid stuff. You see what I'm saying? I need people in my circle that's gonna be making smart decisions. That's gonna be making good decisions. That's gonna be making progressive decisions. That's gonna be moving forward, not moving backwards. And this is so crazy. I'm about to say this is gonna be the statement of the year. What you might have thought was a step forward can sometimes be a step backwards. If you got a brand new car, but you stand in your granny house, you think that's a step forward, but really that's a step back. You got $800 tied up in this car. You can't go get you a place to stay now. You gotta live at your granny house now. So you not only was in a bad predicament because you was at your granny house, now you in a worse predicament because now you can't get out. You stuck. And all you got to show for it is, okay, I got a brand new Jeep. So this is how you know what you're dealing with. And the person that you can bring and put in your closest circle. Now, if I, on the contrary, if I meet somebody, they're talking about business, they're talking about progressive things, moving forward, they're intellectually sharp. They understand the dynamics of what life is really about. I could be like, okay, this person can come into my circle because they're gonna challenge me to be a better person. They're gonna keep me on point. If I tell them I'm gonna go do some stupid stuff, they're gonna say, bro, why you gonna go do that? See, you don't need friends that's gonna be a yes man. With the other guy, if I would have told him that I'm gonna go buy a G2, he'd be like, yeah, man, that's what's up. But really, it's stupid. But on the contrary, with the other guy, I have him in my circle and I tell him I'm gonna go buy a Jeep, he gonna keep me on point. Bro, why you gonna go do that? That's stupid. Bro, I thought you trying to be a millionaire out here. Like, what's up? Like, why you gonna do that? So the problem is some of y'all want to have a yes man as a friend. That's why y'all got the friends that y'all got. You gotta have friends that's gonna challenge you to be a better person. And what that means is that they might not tell you all the time what you want to hear, but they're going to tell you what you need to hear. And it's a difference. It's a difference between telling a person what they need to hear to build them up and telling a person something vindictively to tear them down. And so there's distinction between that you have to make. So the last point right here, guys, is and I told you at once I've begun these principles, you have to do these in order. You have to. So the last principle is you have to assess how they present themselves. Now, there's some causes I have to give with this one, okay? Because appearances, they are important, but they're also superficial. You can meet somebody who looks smart, who looks intelligent. For example, they might have a suit on, they might have their sleeves cuffed, they might have a nice watch, they might have some really nice dress like they look clean and cut, right? You might meet a person that look smart, who look like they got sense, but they actually the stupidest person you'll ever meet. So there's a clause with that. And that's why I put this as the last principle, because it's not the absolute, but you do have to a certain degree, assess how a person presents themselves to the world. So I'm going to give you an example. Something that people of my own color, African American men, unfortunately, I see this all the time whenever I go to work, because our properties are in an urban community, and I see African American men walking around with their pants hanging off their butt. You can see their underwear. They're walking side by side because that's the only way you can walk if your pants are at your knees. And the killer part about it, the cold part about it, they think they look good. They think that is cool. They think that makes sense. So that's why, there's a clause, but you have to look at stuff like that, right? So you meet somebody, I'm going to go to another example. You meet somebody that's wearing Air Jordans. You meet a 30, 40-year-old man wearing some Air Jordans. I'm sounding like Kevin Samuel because this is true. You 30, 40 years old wearing Air Jordans, I'm sorry, man. You're not ready for real life. You're not ready for real life. By 30, 40, you need to have you some loafers on. You need to have you some Sperry's on. You need to have something that looks adult. You look like a kid if you 30, 40 walking around with some Air Jordans on. I'm sorry. And I know that some people might be thinking, oh, well, they're $400 or $500 shoes. Okay, cool. But that's immature for kids. It's kid stuff. You ain't going, I'm telling you right now, I got banking friends. You not going in no bank trying to get some money for an investment property with some Air Jordans on. It's not going to happen. You ain't going to get no money. Unfortunately, that's just the way life is. If you want to play the part, you got to look the part. You ain't going in the bank with your pants sagging off your butt thinking you're going to get $1 million loan. It's just not going to happen. It's not. So to a certain degree, you have to judge how a person presents themselves. And the final point is this: you have to judge how a person presents themselves to the world, because how they present themselves to the world ultimately tells a person how they think and how they feel about themselves. If I see a gentleman walking around with his pants off his butt, what I see is somebody that lacks the cultural, societal, and life awareness to understand that you cannot progress in life looking like that. You can't. Nobody thinks that that looks cool. The only people who think that looks cool are other people who look just like him. Everybody that's on the other side, on the outside of that bubble, they like, yeah, he looks stupid. And it's unfortunate, this is a bit off topic. It's unfortunate that one bad apple spoils it for them all, because there's more African American people in this world who are well dressed, who are well educated, who do have good character, who do have good morals, who are people of integrity. But if you watch the news, you would never know. So, moral of the story, we're going to close it out right here. People, the closest people in your life, can either make or break you. There's a saying, you show me your friends and I'll show you your future. So if everybody you hang around with are the people who got their pants sagging off their butt, I can show you exactly where people who look like that gonna end up being. And it ain't pretty and it ain't nice. But if all your friends is progressive, business, entrepreneurs, hey, it don't even gotta be on that level. Whatever is your niche, you hang around other teachers, you hang around other scientists, whatever it is, as long as they're forward thinking and progressive, you're gonna get to the place that you want to be. But you gotta be able to assess people and know that what you're dealing with within a very short period of time. I'm gonna leave y'all on this note. I said I was gonna leave on another note, but I gotta say this. Life is too short to be sitting around waiting for a person to change. I know that some of us are in relationships, some of us are in friendships. Most likely, this probably pertains mostly to relationships. People are with relationships with people that they voice their opinions, they voice how they feel about on certain things because it hurts them, it disappoints them, it makes them sad. And the person tells you on the other end, yeah, I'm gonna change, I'm gonna do better. But they don't. But here you are, blinded by love, blinded by, or what you might think is love. You say, okay, I'm gonna wait. I know this person has it in them. For the most part with people, what you see is what you're gonna get. That's just what it is. People have the ability to change. I'm not saying that they don't, but you are not Jesus Christ, and you are not the Son of God. You are not God yourself. In fact, I dare I say, God can't even get some people to change. You know, Jesus can't even get people to change. So what make you think you gonna get somebody to change? A person will not change until they themselves make that decision to do it. And even then, change is very difficult because there's so many factors. that go into changing a person's behavior. It's not easy. It's not hard, especially if you've been doing the same thing, you 30, 40, 50. It's hard. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the live. Again, my name is Joseph. If you guys have any questions, I'd love to get this conversation going in the comments. I love the conversation that we had or that we're having right now about student loans. That's been a really great conversation. I've been seeing some really interesting comments, so I'm really happy that we have that conversation going. But let's get some conversations going about people. I think that this is going to be really fun. It's going to be really interesting to hear you guys' take on the points that I made in this episode. So just let me know. I'll be here. And until the next time, my name is Joseph, and I'm out. Peace.